The Ninth Jedi is the 5th episode of Star Wars Visions and takes us far past the events of Star Wars Episode 9 The Rise of Skywalker to a time where the Jedi Order are all but forgotten and their iconic weapon, the lightsaber, has been lost to the galaxy. That is, except for one brave lightsaber smith and his daughter who are attempting to keep the legacy of the Order alive. During this time, the Jedi are hunted to the point of near extinction, with Acolytes of the Sith remaining to quell any Jedi who may rise up. This episode was my absolute favourite from the bunch released, and can easily fit into canon in the future should they choose to continue with the story. So let's break down some awesome lore connections and Easter eggs to the other Star Wars movies, comics, books and games. Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe for more awesome Star Wars lore content. So number 1 is that the kyber crystals being used for the creation of the lightsabers come from asteroids. This idea that kyber crystals can be formed on an asteroid actually comes from Rogue One, a Star Wars story, where the reason for Jedha's huge concentration of kyber crystals is because a large amount of them rain down on the planet every day from asteroids. After that, the distress signal or gathering signal received by Ethan and the others, which is pretty similar to the Jedi Temple distress beacon, which we see being programmed in Revenge of the Sith and later in Rebels, as well as getting a deeper explanation on how it works in the novel A New Dawn. Another awesome connection is that the word JURO in Japanese actually means 10th son, which is very fitting considering Kara is the 9th Jedi. It also means best wishes and longevity, which is a perfect name for the potential leader of a post-apocalyptic Jedi Order. Following that, Margrave JURO and those associated with him use a symbol which looks very familiar to Ahsoka's FULCRUM logo to represent this new Jedi group. And for those of you who don't know, the FULCRUM program and codename was created by Ahsoka Tano on Onderon in the final days of the Clone Wars to help send information back and forth between Saw Gerrera and his insurgency on the planet as securely as possible. After the Clone Wars ended, however, the codename was later used by Ahsoka to covertly deliver intelligence to the Rebel Alliance for Bail Organa, obscuring her identity. Other prominent users of the codename include Cassian Andor from Rogue One and Alexander Callis from Star Wars Rebels, with both playing crucial roles in the Rebel Alliance. Next up is a connection that goes right back to the very beginning of the Star Wars chronological timeline. Thousands of years before the Battle of Yavin, a group of mysterious ships called the Thoyor travelled around the galaxy and picked up the Force-sensitive members of a select few species, taking them to the sacred planet of Tython. When they arrived on Tython, the Thoyor ships spread out from their landing site and located themselves at many sites across the planet. At each resting place of the Thoyor, the Force sensitives of Tython settled around them and built temples at each one. One of these temples was located next to a massive volcanic caldera and was in turn given the name Vertepe, or the Temple of Metallurgy. At this temple, young members of the Jedi Order would study the art of metallurgy and learn to create their own Force-imbued swords under the teachings of Master Tem Mad Dog. This was an era before the lightsaber was invented, and the role that Tem Mad Dog played was pretty much the same as Kara's father Zima is now playing, hundreds of years after the Jedi Order had fallen and their weapons lost to time. After that is a smaller connection, but the salt-covered plains of High Islan very much remind me of Selos, where Rex, Wolf and Gregor were stationed after the end of the Clone Wars, Abafar, where Gregor crash-landed, and even Agamar, where Rex fought against Kalani long after the Clone Wars had come to an end in Star Wars Rebels. Now following that, we have a range of awesome connections about kyber crystals and attunement to the Force, which do actually come from the current canon. When Kara's father hands her the first lightsaber, she turns it on and realizes that it can change length. This can also be seen in Star Wars Rebels, where Canon shows Ezra that he can adjust the length of a lightsaber to his height and fighting style. This features a system known as the dual phase mechanism inside of the lightsaber, which is obviously now a lost and forgotten technology by this point in the timeline, which Kara's father has managed to rediscover. After this, we see that when Kara ignites the lightsaber, it remains colorless. This tells us that her affinity to the Force is not yet strong enough to give the lightsaber a color based on her traits and morals. This actually comes from canon, where a lightsaber crystal gains its color as soon as it is harvested from its resting place. For example, blue crystals represent those who are more focused on their fighting and power in the Force, green crystals represent those who focus more on the cosmic Force and their connection to it, yellow representing a mix of both like the Jedi Temple guards, and purple signifying a delicate mix of the dark side and the light side, just like Mace Windu had. Red sabers on the other hand are created by bleeding a kyber crystal with the dark side of the Force, bending them to your will. In the Ninth Jedi, however, the Sabersmith has managed to temper the crystals, which basically means that they change colors immediately as soon as a different user wields it and imbues it with his energy. This idea itself actually comes from the Return of the Jedi comic adaptation, where Luke's lightsaber immediately turns red after Darth Vader holds it. And there is definitely more coming about the lightsaber colors later in the video. Following that, we get a nice little throwback to The Empire Strikes Back, with Kara's father blocking a blaster bolt using the Force with his hand, just like Darth Vader did to Han Solo on Cloud City. This is one of those classic Star Wars callbacks, which pretty much every episode features, along with I have a bad feeling about this, and may the Force be with you. I'm sure you guys noticed just how many times they were used. Arriving back at the aerial temple, we see that Margrave JURO's lightsaber is engraved with the same fulcrum style logo as before. If this episode and concept was brought into canon, it would mean that the program Ahsoka created and the symbol she endowed on it has transcended many eras, from the Republic, the Empire, the New Republic, and has evolved over time into something that looks different, but still has its roots in the Fulcrum program. That would be an incredibly cool idea to see her legacy go hundreds of years past episode 9. As Cara is being chased by the Jedi hunters, she is forced to defend herself with a lightsaber, and you can actually see it slowly gaining its green glow, which is an awesome way of telling us that her attunement to the Force is slowly growing. Once Cara arrives at the aerial temple with the lightsabers, and discovers that pretty much all of the other members there, except Ethan and JURO, are dark acolytes of the Sith, a huge battle breaks out, putting the trio to the test. During the battle, the human Sith acolyte uses Force lightning, but it's not the standard blue color that Palpatine or Dooku would use. Instead, it's a deep crimson red color, matching that of the son of Mortis from the Clone Wars Mortis trilogy. For those of you who don't know, sometime during the Clone Wars, Anakin Skywalker, Ahsoka Tano, and Obi-Wan Kenobi encountered a family of celestial beings known as the Ones, with each of them being a different embodiment of the Force. The son embodied the dark side, the daughter represented the light, and the father represented balance. There is also a fourth member of the family, the mother, also called Abeloth, but that's a story for another time. And she's absolutely crazy. During Anakin's encounter with the son of Mortis, the son used red Force lightning in his attacks, which is believed to be an immensely stronger version of standard Force lightning. There was also a light side variant of this ability which was yellow and called Electric Judgment that was discovered by Plo Koon during the Clone Wars. And another nice touch is that JURO's green lightsaber has a ring around it, which is reminiscent of something you'd see in the High Republic era, and it's a far cry from the time period that we're in now, post episode 9 for this story, and it shows you that he was not wrong saying he was eccentric, and he's clearly got that little spark of creativity that any good Jedi Master needs. The green color also tells us that he is very in touch with the cosmic force and has a deep understanding of its nature, choosing to focus more on that and the spiritual side of the force rather than the fighting and combat side, which Ethan's blue color tells us he'll be interested in. But either way, I just want to see much more content surrounding this storyline, and it honestly deserves a full series just to itself. It's definitely my favorite of all of the episodes, but tell me down below which one you enjoyed the most. After that, we see one of the other fighters, Homan, has his blade turn purple as his emotions falter and swing between the light and dark side, putting him somewhere in the middle. This is also the same reason that Mace Windu has a purple lightsaber. In canon, when Windu collected his crystal, it attuned to the color purple because of his balance between the light and the dark side. Mace also incorporated this balance into his fighting style called Varpad, in which he channels the dark side through his swings, making him one of the toughest combatants in the Jedi Order. And to end it off, we have the aerial temple above High Islan, looking exactly like an ignited lightsaber, and also a kyber crystal itself, which is a beautiful and symbolic way to end the episode. Overall, this was one of my favorite pieces of Star Wars content in a long time, and definitely should be expanded on with more content, but let me know what you thought of it down below. Which episode was your favorite? Thanks so much for watching, really hope you enjoyed the video. Cheers guys, hope to see you in the next one.